Hi, this is Letty. Anytime we have a group of data in a spreadsheet all together, no gaps in the rows, no gaps in the columns, we can turn it into a data range for a pivot table, or we could turn it into a table, or we can do both. Let me show you in this video about how I like to play with data in a pivot table to see what kinds of questions I can answer with it. What you should notice before we even get to playing with it is that I've got some field names at the top: ID number, year of a vehicle, the make of the vehicle, the type of vehicle, the number of miles on the odometer, the department it's assigned to, so you can see that these are public transportation vehicles, or vehicles that are in use by different public resources like police and things like that. And we have a price per vehicle and the cost of maintenance. This is an annual cost of maintenance. And so this is a lot of data. And if we needed to analyze how much our vehicles were costing us, which kind of vehicle was the most efficient to use and maintain, that kind of thing, then we could begin to build some pivot tables and ask those questions by playing with the data. So I don't even need to select my data. I can go to the Insert tab and click Pivot Table. And what you can see is the marching ants see the outline of the shape of my data. So I'm just giving a brief glance at those marching ants, and I'm going to say OK. Well, it puts all my field names here, and I know we've already done pivot tables in this class, but I'm just going to talk you through the way I'm playing with this data. And I say to myself, what kind of a question do I have? Well, I have a question about what would be the most efficient kind of data vehicle to maintain. So I know I need the kind of vehicle, so if I put vehicle type down in the rows, I can see that it's separating out the kind of vehicle. Perfect. Maintenance figures were here. I'll put that in the values. Values always gets the money. You can see that the way that these numbers are formatted right here, they don't look like currency. And whenever you're talking about money, if numbers are supposed to represent money, it's very important to format them as currency so we don't get confused about them. On the other hand, what's happening with this money is that they're being summed up. So I have to ask myself, do I want the sum of all the money compared for maintaining those vehicles, or do I want the average cost of maintaining those vehicles? In this case, for this question, there probably wouldn't be any difference in the way it helped me maintain, but it's an important distinction to make. And let's see what else. I could also put the make of the vehicle in the question so I can compare how much it costs to maintain a Ford pickup truck as opposed to a GMC pickup truck. Okay, so I feel like I've got some interesting information here and displayed in a way that'll begin to help me. Now I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to turn this money into what looks like currency, and I'm going to lose the cents, the two decimal places at the end. Whenever you're trying to analyze figures, you have to really decide, do I need to see the cents? And usually you do not. It sort of confuses the brain. The other thing you should know is that even though you can select the data right here and go to Format and make it look like currency, that's not actually the correct way to format money inside of a pivot table, because then if you rearrange the pivot table, it's those cells that have the formatting and not the actual numbers, if that makes sense. So the correct way to do it is to pull down the value and click Value Field Settings, and then go to the Number Format tab and say how you want it to look. And in this case, we'll set it to currency, no decimal places, and say OK. That looks a lot better, and it certainly helps get my brain around what's going on here. So I can see pretty easily by looking at the totals here and here which are the most which we spend the most money on, rather. But the truth is, I don't know what we spend the most money on per vehicle. I can't compare vehicle to vehicle because, for instance, even though I can see that I've got a grand total under Chevrolets that's quite a lot higher than the others, I don't know how many Chevrolets I've got. So if I'm comparing 30 Chevrolets that I'm upkeeping and only 2 Dodges, that I may fool myself with those statistics. So again, it's important to figure out. And if I decide really looking at the average of those, or maybe looking at a count of the Chevrolets as well as the average, these are all things I can do, and I can keep dragging stuff down. Now I've got the maintenance cost down here already, but I could put it down here again, and I could change this one to show me the average cost of maintenance. And what you can see is that it doesn't look too good seeing the average next to the sum. I think in this case I'm going to move the sum back up here, and notice that I have to correct the number formatting to show it as currency, no decimal places again. And okay. All right, now if I'm looking at the average cost to maintain a Chevrolet as opposed to a Ford or a GMC, I've got some really good figures here because it doesn't really matter how many Chevrolets or Fords or whatever. You can see also that a sedan is clearly the most expensive vehicle to maintain, and so I may be able to take that into consideration when deciding, how to buy vehicles for public service departments. So that's the way I play with it. I drag things around. Sometimes I just want to filter for something completely. So let's say I'm not interested in seeing any vehicles that are not the current year or the latest year model. So when I want a big global filter, I drag something to the report filter. Notice that put that field in up here. And here's where I can use it to filter. I could say I want to see all, which is the default, or if I want to certain years, I'm going to click to select multiple items. Notice I can get all the checkboxes visible now. Now I'll remove the checkboxes from all the vehicles, and I'm going to say please only show me the 2010 information. So now I've got a global filter on all my data for only 2010 information. As you can see, I don't even have some of the I don't even have a Chevrolet in the latest vehicle pool. And clearly GMC is costing me a lot less. And let's see, what else can I see? I can see that a pickup truck for the current year is costing me far more. It's what you need to do when you're playing with data to answer what if questions. Okay, hope that helps.